The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Hello, everyone. We are back. Okay. Yes, this is Soccer to the Max. Yes, this is our latest Women's World Cup episode. No, it's not going to be a traditional review because of timing and all kinds of different issues. But, never fear, we haven't forgotten. I'm still here, Eric Watkins, fearless leader, awesome producer Sean, still away. Fingers crossed, we hope to have him back for the next show. But you're not going to hear me wandering through these muddy waters all by myself. As always, I have the awesome, the studious, the equally questioning on the wavelength of what happened today, Rachael McCreeger.
There's no head-scratching emoji, but I think they should get one because I really could have used it today.
Don't they have the one with, thinking emoji where the guy, it looked like he would be stroking his beard if he had one?
Yes, they do.
Yeah, that's the closest one that I could come up with. Yeah, we're finishing up our mostly previews with groups D, E, and F, but there was a little bit of action with the groups D and E, well, D in particular, but yeah, for all of the high-flying and the upsets and this and that, I will admit, today in particular was just kind of,
It was a big old question mark. Oh, man, this World Cup has been so much fun already.
Yeah, what we're going to start with, especially leading up to, I guess you could call this the women's version of the Hand of God coming up, Argentina, England, however you want to describe it, because, those two teams, England, Scotland. Okay, we expected England to at least have a bit of a threat, but for the most part come out top of the group. For most of their match against their rival Scotland, they played like it, but then craziness ensued.
Yeah, I mean, it was a really good game. It was just, there was a little bit of mismanagement on England's part, and Scotland was able to get one back, but luckily enough for England, they were able to defend well enough for the last few minutes and keep the score 2-1. I think England, looking at their group, they would have wanted something a little bit more, especially with the other opponents they have. They have Argentina and Japan, so I think they wanted a little more just to give them a little bit of a cushion. But alas, they're still on top right now.
Yeah, and for that one, they came out definitely the better of the two sides. That early goal, that was wonderful, but it just seems it's like, now I know Phil Neville, normally his tactic isn't just to go kind of park the bus a little bit, but it was like, towards the end, even being up 2-1, if you know you're trying to get as much of a cushion, you're going to want to boost your goal difference any way you can.
Yeah, and I think that just, given this World Cup, we've learned already so far that you can't underestimate any team, no matter what their FIFA ranking is, no matter what past experiences have been. So to get any sort of a cushion is going to help.
Yeah, and going into their match against Argentina, now, with the Albi Celeste today against Japan, just with everything that they've had to go through as a team, not having a team, not getting the funding, just being ignored in terms of the women's game in such a football-rich country, but to come out, make history, getting their first ever point against a Japanese side that young, but understandably very, very hungry, given the last two tournaments.
I don't think anybody expected what happened with Argentina to happen today, but I mean, you have to love that as a football fan. You know, you hear all this talk about their men's program and how their men's program does, but the women don't get that kind of credit. They don't get that media attention. Well, now I think people are starting to look up and say, oh, wow, there's a legitimate Argentinian team on our hands, and they have a really good young group. They didn't sail through qualifying, but when they had to face Panama in that qualifying playoff, they really took the reins and just went with it. So to see this Argentina side come out, and that's what makes the World Cup so much fun. I mean, you're having these players and these teams that you don't think are going to come out and do these incredible performances, and they're coming out and they're upsetting and they're doing all kinds of stuff to shake up the group. If you would have asked me before the tournament, is Argentina going to make it out of the group? I would have said, probably not. They'd be that third place team, but I don't know if they'd make it. I'm starting to rethink my analysis a little bit.
Yeah, because give credit to Japan, especially those last 15 minutes. They really focused inside the 18 and created a lot of flurries of chances. But Argentina was just defend, possess. They knew that they couldn't break Japan down, but they were more than fine holding onto the ball, waiting patiently, using all of that possession and generating whatever chances they could. It worked out for a point, and honestly now, they get this point, they have, say, a fairly close result against the Three Lionesses. They could easily challenge and be the best third-place team, or even second, going into the Scotland match, which they really have targeted, given how their group was supposed to play out.
Yeah, and they're not afraid to do it either. They're not afraid to come in and shake things up and say, hey, we have the ability to really be this great team that can just make it to the knockouts and maybe even make some noise there. It's fun to watch teams that you don't think are going to do well or you don't know anything about come out and just really perform.
Absolutely. And today was really that key example, because really kind of settling it a little bit on Group D, just going forward. The whole prevailing thing was England, yes, they're going to smash. But Scotland realizes, okay, we can generate our moments. Argentina, like we just talked about. So it's like, this really opened things up, because now, what is Japan thinking? Yes, everybody hyped them as one of the youngest in the tournament, average age only 24, but you have the strength and some of that veteran experience going back to these last two appearances in a World Cup final, but nothing really clicked today. So, could they be the odd team out now? It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, and I think for Japan, I think that it's time to hit that panic button. I know it's the first game in the World Cup, but I mean, you look back into the past couple of months, maybe the last year. I mean, you go down 3-0 to the Three Lionesses in the She Believes Cup. There's just mixed results all over the board. I mean, pulling a 2-2 draw against the United States was good, but I mean, they had opportunities to win the game and they didn't quite pull through. So I mean, I think this Argentina match is going to be a huge wake-up call for Japan, and it's not going to be an easy road in their group. It's not like 2015, 2011, where you just know that Japan is going to make it through. And if they do make it through, it's going to be a long, hard road in the knockouts.
Absolutely, because you're looking at, say they do finish runner-up, you're getting a very strong runner-up in another group, or if you have as one of those third-place teams, you're facing a group winner. That's going to be very problematic.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy road, that's for sure. They really need to buckle down and figure out what's going on right now.
Well, if they have a couple of days, sit and organize themselves. I know England, they're going to be asking a couple of questions with how they closed the game, but it's setting up for the fun second match day in Group D, that's for certain.
Rubbing my hands together just thinking about it.
Okay, now for all of that in Group D, can you explain to me this whole situation with Group E? Because, Canada, Cameroon, that could have been a lot uglier than it was. A lot uglier.
Yeah, and for that, you have to give a ton of credit to Cameroon. I mean, that was, to be honest, you look at the scoreline and you think, oh, this isn't really a interesting game to watch. It was a great game to watch, mainly because of the defense that Cameroon was able to unleash today. I mean, granted, you're getting a lot of help having Estelle Johnson on the team. She's only been there for a few months now. She is one of those players, just like Jamaica has a lot, that have quickly switched their allegiance so they could go to the World Cup and help their national team. So having Estelle on defense is a huge, huge pick-me-up because she's a veteran. She's in her early 30s. She's fit. She's ready to go. And for the first time, as Christine Sinclair had played in her 5th World Cup opener, and in the last 4 World Cup openers, she scored. And this was the first time in World Cup history for her that she didn't score in an opener. So to keep Christine Sinclair scoreless is pretty darn impressive.
And it was not for a lack of trying. Canada alone, 10 corners in the match. Those last, 5-10 minutes, there was a good 2, 3, 4 chances to where Sinclair could have easily had a tap in and then one step closer to the all-time international scoring record, but just players in front of the ball, great goalkeeping. Cameroon really stepped up.
Yeah, and Cameroon showed to the other teams, hey, we're serious. We are ready to go. We don't care who's in our way. We're going to fight. And they don't want to just settle for that 3rd place spot. They're going to try to go for that 2nd place spot. They're going to try to go for the win for the whole group. It's going to be hard, but I think, this is a team that if they buckle down, they can really, really make some noise. And they made a lot of noise in Canada back in the 2015 World Cup, and a lot of people thought, hey, maybe they'll get a little bit more help from their federation, and that wasn't the case. So I'm fighting again to see, hey, we're going to fight, we're going to have a good tournament, and maybe our federation will back us this time.
Exactly. And the thing really to take away is they had very few questions. The one criticism I would have, watch along that right side of their defense, especially going into that final defensive third, because that's where Canada generated a few of those opportunities with some key crosses. But other than that, I mean, they had an excellent game plan.
And this group is just one giant question mark, too, because New Zealand, I mean, you look at New Zealand and the Netherlands. New Zealand, they just beat, oh boy, who was it? England, 2-0 in a tune-up friendly before the World Cup. The Netherlands, they beat Australia 3-0. But then you have them lose, New Zealand lost, I think it was 6-0 against the United States. So it's just okay, well, what kind of team are we going to get at the World Cup this time? So this group is such a big question mark. I don't think it's quite the group of death. I know I wrote that earlier, but looking back now, I still think that's Group B with Germany, Spain, South Africa, and I know I'm missing one, China. But this is a close second to the group of death, but it's more or less just the group of question mark, because you would assume Canada's going to go through, but with New Zealand, the Netherlands, and Cameroon, it's okay, who's taking second or even first?
Yeah, it's just the male ferns. Yes, I finally, thank you, we talked about it, there's a term, I can work on this and get this going for the rest of the tournament. The male ferns are going to be a very mixed bag. They've proven that. Maybe when we get to see them in their opening match against the Netherlands, you'll have a better idea of what team shows up, but then what if that's a 0-0 or a 1-1 draw? Everything all of a sudden is thrown into the air.
I like male ferns, by the way. I think it sounds good.
Yeah, I realized, it was wait a minute, all of their teams are nicknamed Ferns. Bam! It just hit me out of the blue, and I'm okay, alright, let's run with this. See where it takes us.
Now because of you, they're probably going to win the group because of this.
And if they do, you're welcome. I'll just go down, get me tickets to a sevens match, and that's all. That and a little bit of credit I will gladly accept in return. As is, when we get to talking further about the Club World Cup and doing it, you should thank me because I'm lobbying for more than teams just like Auckland City. I'm doing you a favor, New Zealand. Trust me.
I call them New Zealand. I call them. This group is such a question mark that New Zealand could very well win the group. I mean, I personally think that the Netherlands is going to win it with Canada second, but that third place spot, it's so far up for grabs, and that could be one of those third place teams that does advance.
And with how close this could be, goal difference and all of that, this is one to where if it's really that tough, 5 points could get you in the mix to win the group. You may not even need 6. Then, if you can squeeze out 3 or 4, yes, that would be in great position for a third-place team to move on.
Yeah, and I think the match to watch for in this group is absolutely going to be that Canada-Netherlands match. That could be a huge difference maker.
Yeah, and if the Netherlands gets any sort of result from that one, because Canada's already shown their difficulties, then whatever predictions you have, you can just burn them.
Not a bad idea.
Now, to end the official previews, the group that everybody's been waiting for, and they've been counting down to it on all of the networks, yes, Group F. Yes, the United States, along with Sweden, Chile, and Thailand. Am I wrong in thinking that with these 3 teams, outside, really 2 teams, Sweden, yes, but Chile and Thailand, they're not going to get a lot of measuring sticks unless something really goes wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Because I was even talking with my mother about this. Oh, U.S.-Thailand, it could be a good game. And I'm like, no, it shouldn't be. We should crush them. That's normal, even with all the stuff that's going on and with who we've brought. We should demolish them and then move on. But if we don't, there's already going to be hell to pay.
Do you know what the score was the last time we played Thailand?
9-0, if I remember correctly?
Yep. I mean, it's like I said earlier, one thing that you have to do in this World Cup is you cannot underestimate the teams. And the United States just saw that in action with Canada and Cameroon today, and Australia and Italy the other day. I mean, it's been on full display, but still, you cannot quite underestimate these teams. I think that's the same way for Chile. I mean, when we played Chile, we lost 3-0 and 4-0. So that's like, okay, yeah, those are a little bit big differences, and that's still getting blanked, but it's not like 9-0. Chile just has to make a few adjustments, and they could very well tie the game, draw the game, keep the United States scoreless. But I think this Thailand game, obviously I think the United States is going to go in and win it. I don't think there's going to be much of an argument there. Mm-hmm. But in regard to the third place battle, because I think you and I can both agree, I don't know the order quite yet, but the United States and Sweden are likely going to be those 2 that move on.
Easily. And the game, or the match between the 2 of them, that's what's going to decide who's going to win the group and who takes second.
And then that match between Chile and Thailand should be the match that says, hey, who's in third place? I don't think either of them will move on, but with the way groups have been, you never know.
Yeah, and the fact that you've got a 2-3 chance as a third place team to move on to the round of 16, that's the beauty of this expanded tournament. So you ideally, if you can get 3 points somehow, some way, you put yourself in a great position. But the one thing that with Chile and Thailand they can't do If they play to a draw, well, then they knock each other out. Just
Right.
done. So they're going to go into that match like gangbusters, saying, hey, we've still got to fight, and then you have all kinds of extra tiebreakers and things going on. So you're going to get a lot of very different aggressive tactics because they should have at least an idea, okay, this is what we need to do to have a chance. Let's achieve this and then some.
Yeah, and I think going back to that United States and Thailand match, this is a different Thailand team than the last time they played against each other. That was all the way back in 2016. One of the players that even scored for the United States was Heather O'Reilly, and she's now retired internationally, and she's doing commentating for the World Cup. So these two teams are two very different teams that played against each other the last time. So like I said, it's all about not underestimating your opponent and making sure that you keep them at bay, but don't park the bus after getting one or two goals.
No, you really can't. And if this were a game to where the last definitive one where you can experiment or even come close to being able to afford to experiment, this is it. Because let's face it, through the qualifying, through all of these, like the tune-ups, even what she believes, it's been one long experiment. Well, here you are, you should ideally be done, but if you're not, well, you have a minor margin for error if you decide to.
Well, and I'm glad you brought up the word experiment because, people look at the last time the United States played Thailand and it's, we beat them 9-0. Do we throw out the second team so the first team can get some rest for the Sweden match? Heck no, you throw that first team out there. You throw out Lindsay Horan, Megan Rapinoe, Tobin Heath. You throw out that first team defense to see how they do. Thailand's got a lot of young strikers that the United States hasn't played against before. Miranda Mild is one of them who plays for Cal, the University of California. And so, that's somebody they never played against before because she joined the national team back in 2017. So you cannot take this opponent lightly. You can't just throw in your second team or sure make substitutes along the way. That's absolutely no problem. But a lot of people are saying, but Chile and Thailand, you can just throw those second teamers in. No.
Yeah, this is it. Everybody's hyping up this match. Everybody's saying, alright, this is the U.S. team. This is what we can do. Show why you're the favorites. Well, there's really no excuses. You never want to go into a second group match off of what is a weak result and then leave yourself saying, oh, what if? No, this is not the time for that.
Yeah, and especially because you don't know what Sweden can do against Chile and Thailand. From my knowledge, I don't think Sweden has played either of them. So, they're going in with no idea what's happening. So, points-wise, just throw everyone in that you can that's your first team. Don't take it lightly.
No, this is the time to where, now granted, a 9-0 I think is out of the question, but if you can make it 4 or 5, give yourself at least breathing room. That's what this match is about, or at least it should be.
I agree.
Now, going back to some of the action that's already occurred in previous groups, France, I said that they kind of scared me a bit. Seeing them against South Korea, they do.
Yeah, and that's not even it's just South Korea because South Korea has a pretty decent team. They're not a bad team. They're not a pushover team. And they did keep it physical in that match. But, oh, my God, Wendy Renard, there's no stopping her. She's 6'2", for crying out loud. She is so stinking good that any team that has to defend her is just done for.
It's a bit of a shame because she had a shot at a hat trick, and then there were goals that were called out or offside, albeit correctly because of VAR. let's face it, I saw the replays and everything myself. It was close, but it was right. Sorry, people. This is why it's there.
These people that begged and begged and begged for VAR to come, and now it's here, and, you know, something doesn't go their way, and now it's, oh, why is VAR at the World Cup? Well, you wanted equality. You got it.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get these sorts of situations, and if anything, so far I think, even though we have a very small sample size, VAR has been handled quite well. I don't have any real issues, unlike with other matches, but that's for another podcast.
Take a deep breath there. I think there's been, I don't remember what the call was exactly. I know it was a handball in one of the games, but that was the only one time I, you know, was like, I don't know about VAR. But I mean, that's one out of like maybe the 7-8 times it's been really used.
Yes, that one, Van Vick for South Africa and the match against Spain.
Yes, that was it.
Now, I saw that, and seeing that live and in seeing all the replays, I get the decision for the penalty. Her arms were out, and she was kind of turning away, but they were at a slightly awkward, almost 90-degree angle, so it's like not quite a natural position. I just don't think the yellow card on top of that really made any sense.
Right. I don't think that second yellow card, I don't remember who got it for South Africa. I didn't think that was necessary.
No, because, I mean, I get it, and that one, that it started to become a more physical match as it wore on, especially after Spain had converted that second penalty, but it's just like, at some point, you just gotta let it go. Yes, you limit your frustrations and things, but just come on.
Yeah, just let him play.
Exactly. Now, I will say, there was one match I was looking forward to, but that unfortunately turned into a bit of a slaughterhouse and then calmed down. Norway. Just, that the first half against Nigeria, it started out well, and then all of a sudden Norway was like, whoosh, here we are, try and stop us.
Yeah, I can't say too much about that game because that's the one I missed. But, I mean, just like you said, I checked the score 1 minute, and then the next minute I check it, it's 3-0. I'm like, what the heck happened? But, I mean, no matter what, Norway's going to hear the talk about Ada Hegerberg. There's no escaping it, which is a good thing because you want to hear her. You want to hear her platform. You want to hear her fight for equality. But at the same time, you know, Norway's here too, and they're saying like, hey, yeah, what she's doing is what she's doing. We got a World Cup to play in, and to see them kind of bounce back and really have a statement win, I think is great. And I think that match against France I don't think they're going to win it, but I think it's going to be interesting.
No, I think that they kind of silenced the critics and let that situation take a back seat at least for a couple of days with this win. And that's really what Norway tried to do, because again, it was a moment of Nigeria building, and then just the Norwegian pressure, midfield, counterattack, chance. And although the third goal was an own goal, yeah, Norway was really showing and throwing their weight around in the first half. Second half, they did sit back a little bit. Nigeria got to compose themselves, but the damage was already done.
Yeah, and it's really cool to see Norway play so physical, because Norway isn't really one of the, you know, European countries. You don't really think of them as the most physical. You think of your African nations, your Central American, South American nations. That's who you think of. But to see Norway come out with really this kind of chip on their shoulders almost was a really cool sight to see.
Yeah, and that they're really representing, and hopefully Nigeria can find some resolve and positives to come back from this, because their upcoming match against South Korea is just going to be completely wide open.
And that could decide a third place team that moves on.
Absolutely. And finally, Germany, China, it was another one of those that was like,
oh my God, China had so many chances.
it was one of those where you feel bad because China was fighting. Germany had the one big chance. Gwyn had that monster goal. But aside from that, a little bit of a technical difficulty there. But yes, with Germany, the one strike from Gwyn, a monster goal, and China just kept fighting back. But for as many chances as they were able to generate, that equalizer just never came. And sometimes that can be very demoralizing.
Yeah, and it's tough to come back against a team like Germany. I mean, they're not what they used to be, of course, but still, they're Germany. They're a powerhouse. They're one of those teams that you know is going to have a really good World Cup. I mean, China held them pretty well. It's a bummer that China didn't win because of how well they did against Germany, but I mean, you got to have your finishes. There were just a couple of times there was too many touches being taken and just all kinds of stuff going against China, and they were all like self-inflicted wounds.
Exactly. And going into their match now against South Africa, that's putting a lot of pressure because, yes, you can still rebound and maybe take second from the group, but you don't even get somewhat close to a solid result. Now you're leaving everything to play for and fighting for third.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such a tough group. Like I said earlier, South Africa, you don't know what's going to happen. Oh my gosh, who's the other team I'm missing? South Africa.
Spain.
And Spain, I mean, they put up a really, really good battle against South Africa. I mean, that to me is definitely the group of death.
Yeah, it's that one, that group definitely, I really can't say anything else. You're right, that is a group of death. That's a lot more stacked than we originally thought. And finally, Group C. Well, Brazil, Jamaica, first of all, Christian, proving again, age is a mere number, getting herself a rather brilliant hat trick, and again, while the Reggae Girls got into that match later on, Brazil, same as I mentioned about other teams, just along the wings, crossing a lot more pressure into the box. No Marta, no problem.
No Marta, no problem. And how about a 7th World Cup for Formiga? 41 years old? Oh my gosh, she is absolutely amazing. And she's still playing like at the top of her game. That game was probably, I think the Group C matches are 100% my favorite matches so far. And we'll get to the other one in a minute. But I mean, Jamaica, there were so many positives. You have a 19-year-old goalkeeper in Sydney Schneider making a kick save against Andressa Alves. I mean, both goalkeepers, Barbara for Brazil and Sydney Schneider, they both made 3 saves. Bunny Shaw was getting into it. There were some tired legs at the end. But, I mean, for the first time showing for Jamaica at a World Cup, I mean, it wasn't bad. It really wasn't. I don't think they're going to advance out of their group. Although, you know, with Australia, you never know, but it was so fun to watch them play. They were so good. Brazil was good. It was exciting to see them get back into it. But like one of the announcers had said on Fox Sports, I mean, no offense to Jamaica, all respect to them, but they're the lowest ranked team in the tournament. So, get a win against them, yeah, that's great and everything. Good job avoiding a 10th straight loss. But really, really show me something when you're playing against Australia and when you're playing against this new powerhouse that is Italy.
Yeah, because with that one, Formiga, credit to her, but when you're a young team and you're built on that kind of quickness, as fantastic as Formiga is, she shouldn't be that talented enough to be able to run you down. And later on, she also got a yellow, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, yes, you're up against a powerhouse, but there were more moments you could have generated to strike.
Yeah, but here's the big question now for Brazil. Do you start Marta next time, or do you keep the lineup that you had? If Marcy's ready to go, do you start her or do you sit her? Because, I mean, she was playing when they were on that 9-game losing skid.
I wouldn't necessarily be quick to start her. I would want her on as one of my first sub. Get her minutes so that way you can at least get her back into the flow of things ahead of the match against Australia, because let's face it, or ahead of the match against Italy, your last match, get her some minutes against Australia. But let's face it, Australia is now a wounded team thanks to this shock.
What was that?
Australia is now a wounded team thanks to this shock result against Italy. But so.
Oh, you said shock. I thought you said something else. Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, Australia.
I think once, folks, that isn't me. Just putting that out there.
I know that was That was me cutting out. Anyway, I think I said it before. I'll say it again. I don't trust Australia with the defense that they have. I won't trust Australia with the defense they have, and I'm not putting money on them to win the World Cup with the defense that they have. I really, really think that this new manager that they have should really take a look at this defense and start making some changes, because if he doesn't, Australia's not going to do well in the knockouts. They might not even make it to the knockouts. It's a great team with a lot of attack, but their defense is so inconsistent that it really, really makes it hard for me to trust them.
Yeah, because there's no way. Yes, 1-0 leads are always very tenuous, but how could you go through knowing that you already had a point locked up and then give up that late equalizer? That, I'm sorry, a lot of times that doesn't happen. Credit to Italy, but if you're already looking to pack it in, knowing that you've got Brazil coming up, you don't do that. If you can't get 3, at least hold on for 1.
Yeah, and that first goal was just like a nightmare for Australia. I mean, I think it was, I don't remember who it was on defense. I want to say Claire Polkinghorn. I might be wrong there, but I don't know. Claire Polkinghorn, if it was her, gives the ball away right to Barbara Bonacea, and she slots it right past Lydia Williams. The next goal, you have Bonacea completely not unmarked, but there's a good set of distance between her and Kerr, and she puts it right in goal. I mean, the marking on defense on set pieces is just so horrendous from Australia.
And that, if anything has shown, that's an area that Brazil can really strike. Really strike. So you don't have a lot of time, only a few days to get that at least somewhat close to right, but if you still got it horribly wrong, then you're looking at potentially no points from 2 matches, and now you're like, okay, you need a big result to fight for a 3rd place spot.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's just so many inconsistencies for Australia that it really makes it hard for me to envision them doing anything crazy in the tournament.
No, so at this point, we're going to see. It's been very quirky, but very fantastic first few days. So now we await the last of the group to get started, and I can already tell there's going to be a lot to talk about tomorrow, because I don't know.
You never know in a World Cup.
Well, that's why we're here. It's why we get to sit back and watch, and we will continue to do so. But for the meantime, that wraps things up with this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, just about wherever like us, find us, talk about us in a good way, 5-star review, you know the whole deal. I'm Erik Watkins, along with Rachael Krieger. Just 4 days down, so many more to go.
Don't you just love it? I'm so excited.
And to think, this is going to be the easy part of our summer of soccer.
Oh, God. No kidding. Well, it ends if the USA plays France. Although, yeah, we'll get into that later.
Yeah, well, trust me. We'll hype that up a little bit more as time goes on. Until then, peace!
See ya.